de animales y no hemos visto el primero.
Pues están escondidos. Él dijo que los belugas se ven del agua.
¿Y qué son los belugas? ¿Qué es eso?
Whales.
Ah, de whale. Belugas. ¿Qué son belugas?
So the beluga is a white whale, and like I said, you're only going to be seeing the backs of them coming out of the water. And if you see one, there's others with it. They're pack hunters. They're not solitary animals. They're usually in pods of about 6 to 10 or more. And what they do is they kind of make a horseshoe shape, so you'd have a beluga here, 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 and one at the bottom. And what they're trying to do is school the salmon into tighter and tighter schools, so they all can feed, not just one of them can feed.
What's the average temperature out here in the wintertime?
What's that?
The average temperature for the wintertime out here in Anchorage?
Oh, in Anchorage, about 10 degrees Fahrenheit.
Ah, too cold.
But it's not so much the cold temperatures, it's the darkness and the wind. So you get a lot of wind, especially on these conditions. The coldest that Anchorage has ever been, 38.6 below zero. The warmest it's ever been was 90 above on 4th of July, 2019.
What a gift. So how long does it get dark? It's a couple of weeks?
So on June 21st, we have about 20 hours of daylight. But on December 21st, we only have about 4 hours of daylight. And it's not good daylight. People always ask, so how do you look so young? I said, I drink glacier water and the lack of sunlight. If you're not out in the sun all the time, you're not going to age. That's the key. You know, stay out of the sun. So how Turnagain Arm got its name? When Captain Cook came up here in the late 1700s, his first officer on his boat, the Resolution, was William Bligh. That name might sound familiar to some. William Bligh was the captain of the Bounty. You might hear "Beat Me on the Bounty." That was William Bligh. This was pre-Bounty. This is before the Bounty. So they came up here looking for the Northwest Passage, and they initially went north to Kinnick, and it dead-ended. So when they came down here, they thought they found it. This was it. So even back then, the current was so strong, so William Bligh couldn't get his boat in here. So, I mean, not William Bligh, but Captain Cook couldn't get his boat in here. So William Bligh took a couple of his shipmates, and they went on some smaller vessels, and they tried to go against the tide. They were unsuccessful. A couple days later, they went with the tide. They made it all the way down to the end. It goes down 42 miles. He came back, and he tells Captain Cook that it dead-ended down there. And so Captain Cook wrote on his map, had to turn around again. It got shortened to Turnagain, and the reason why it's called Turnagain Arm is because it's, when they mapped it out, it looks like an arm outreached. So because of Captain Cook and William Bligh, that's how it got its name, Turnagain Arm. So that water out there, it's about 45 degrees all year round. 45 degrees. Very, very cold water. Water you don't want to go swimming.
Hypothermia.
Even in the summertime, just because we're so far north, never has a really chance to warm up. In the wintertime, this doesn't freeze solid because that tide is coming in and out all the time, but you do have big chunks of ice out there. Sometimes as big as a house. But it never freezes solid. All right, coming up here on the left-hand side, this is the area, usually on windy days, where the Dall sheep like to hang out. So he's kind of scanning the mountains. If you see anything white up there, it is a Dall. Yep, they're here. All of them here. Right here. Look right here to the left.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Can you see the sheep? Ovejas.
Look at on the side of the mountains. Yep.
Donde están las rocas con rojo.
Yep. So Dall sheep average about 175 to 200 pounds, where a mountain goat averages about 300 to 350, so they're about half the size. So that's where they, what they're feeding on, like I said, is this orange stuff on the rock. That is called lichen, spelled L-I-C-H-E-N. It's a fungus material high in vitamin D and other essential minerals. That's what they graze on. See right here at my 11 o'clock, see all that orange stuff on the rock? Yep. And look at, here's a bald eagle right here on the right-hand side. So right out the window, you're going to see it's going to fly right back over us. It's coming right out the window. It's right above us right now. That's going to be on the left-hand side. So right now it is high tide. The tide will be going out, and it goes out very rapidly. We have 2 high tides a day and 2 low tides a day. So every 6 hours it changes. And when it goes out really fast. I always tell people, Tourniquet Arm is like a bathtub. We're the very far end. It's like the end of the bathtub where Anchorage is where the drain is. So that's where the water comes in and goes out. So at the very far end, it slowly comes up and slowly goes down. But here, on this side, it races out, races in really, really fast. So you might notice, coming up here on our left, you're going to see a lot of waterfalls. Those waterfalls are not coming from up above. There's no snowfall up there. They're actually coming from down below. Because of the movements of the plate tectonics, it's pushing that water up through this rock. This rock is called gray-wacky slate. It's a very porous rock, like this waterfall right here. It's a very porous rock, and this rock came from Northern California, Southern Oregon, between 40 and 60 million years ago, because of the movements of the plate tectonics. So coming around this corner up here, we're going to see the oldest structure in Tourniquet Arm. It was built by a gentleman named Peter Strong. Peter Strong was a miner that came to Alaska in 1898, and he found gold, a little place called Indian. It's home to the Indian Valley Mine. And his initial cabin was down by the railroad tracks. In 1914, the railroad people came up to him and said, "Sir, could you move your cabin to the side of the mountain? We're going to be putting a railroad in here soon." And he said, "No." He said, "I've been here 15 years. I only get about 100 days of summer to mine my gold. I don't have time to do that." They come back a couple days later and they said, "Sir, we don't have any other option. Could you please move your cabin?" And he said, "No." He goes to this gold field, comes back, and his cabin was burnt down. So this is where it was rebuilt right here. So look at the caribou antlers. There's something in the middle. See that something in the middle? That is not a beluga whale skull. It, believe it or not, is a humpback whale skull. So every now and then, the last one was in 2018. Usually it's a juvenile, but in 2018 we had an adult male get beached out there. Well, humpbacks weigh up to 40 tons. And they need some water for some buoyancy to be able to inflate its lungs. Its own body weight would suffocate it. So that whale passes away. So people on the left-hand side, if you look really closely above this cabin here, look at, there's a bald eagle's nest in a tree up there. If you look really close, you can see the bald eagle's nest up there. Very big bald eagle's nest. So that whale beached out in the middle. That whale dies. The high tide pushes the whale over to shore. We had our local university, University of Alaska Anchorage, the marine biologist do an autopsy on the animal, and it was pretty obvious why it passed away. And then we had local Alaska natives come and harvest the meat. On the first day, 100 showed up. On the second day, 50. And on the third day, only 5. The third day, they weren't harvesting meat anymore. They were basically doing a cleanup of the carcass. Because if you didn't do that, you would have every carnivore within 20 miles feeding on that with an active road and trail system nearby. I was doing tours back then. I had to make sure my AC and my windows were rolled up because that was the worst smelling stench that I've ever smelled of anything. So one of my buddies was one of the 5 guys that had the job of cleaning up that carcass. When he got home, his wife stopped him at the door and said, "I want you to take your clothes off outside and I want you to burn them." She said her couch and her curtains smelled like dead whale for 3 weeks. She said she went through 3 bottles of Febreze and it still didn't help. All she could smell was dead whale. It was terrible. Yes. And it was a lot hotter back then. So it was about in the low 80s. Could you imagine 20 hours of daylight? It was this time of year with that whale cooking out in that sunlight. So basically after the 3rd day, the whale turned. Oh my gosh, it was rancid. It was terrible. All right, coming up on our left-hand side, this area is called Bird Creek. But when they redid the road in the year 2000, when they put in passing lanes, pullouts, and guardrails, all the crushed rock was quarried out of the side of this mountain right here. that we're driving on underneath this asphalt. All the crushed rock came out of that mountain. But that is a great description if I took a slice of any mountain around. That is bedrock, but it's also called gray, wacky slate. It's a sedimentary rock. So this stream down here, Bird Creek, is a very, very popular salmon spawning stream for silver salmon. They'll come back next month. Last year, a friend of mine, Lloyd, was down there fishing, and he caught a silver salmon, and he was so happy with himself. Somebody pulled out their cell phone and was taking a video of him land his fish. He gets it up to shore, and all of a sudden, a black bear comes out of the bushes, grabs his fish, snaps his line, and takes off with it.
Oh.
That doesn't happen in every stream in Alaska, but it does happen there. The reason why it happens there, because of all the glacial silt. Besides glacial silt being quicksand, it's also, if you get it on you and it dries like concrete. It comes from crushed rock. That's where concrete comes from. And so it took one hungry bear to figure it out. And the thing with bears, they're amazing mimics. So if one bear is being successful at getting fish that way, another bear sees him do it, he goes, I want some fish. I can do that. Maybe it's a young female, and she'll teach her young. When I was a young man, when I first came to Alaska, I was fishing down there, and I was talking to an old-timer about the bears, and he said the key to keep the bears away is this. He said, bring a fish bopper, like a little miniature baseball bat. When you bring your fish in, bop your fish. What triggers the bears to come out of the bushes to grab your fish is the fish flopping up on shore. They want a live fish. If you kill your fish and the fish is dead, the bear's not going to come out of the bushes. And I've never had a problem with that. And I asked my buddy Lloyd that caught that fish last year, I said, Lloyd, what did you do wrong? And he said, unfortunately, I caught a fish earlier, and I went to bop my fish, and I lost it into the stream, and I went out into Turnagain Arm. And he jinxed himself saying, uh-oh, now the bears will probably get my fish, and sure enough, it happened. So the next area that we're entering in is called Avalanche Alley. There are 3 major avalanche chutes. And between avalanche chute number 1 and avalanche chute number 2, there is another bald eagle's nest. When we get up to it, I'm going to point it out. There's approximately 50 bald eagle's nests between here and Portage Valley. 6 of them are close to the road. And I understand that there's some leaves around it. They're kind of little camouflage. But I'll tell you where they are. The winter of 2012, we had an way above average snowfall. And so we had the snow come down right when the train was going by. So it knocked the train off the tracks. And then we had another avalanche about 3 miles down. So people were stuck in between 2 avalanche chutes. You'd think they'd be asking for food or water or blanket or clothing. Nope, the number one thing that they were asking for, toilet paper. They needed toilet paper. In Alaska, we dress warm. Most of those people were coming from Alyeska, our big ski resort. They probably had food and beverages, but no tissue. So they came out with a helicopter, dropped supplies off, and then they came in with snow machines to get the people out. It took them a couple days to get their cars out.
Oh. What?
This right here is above the water table, unless it's an extreme high tide. This right here, the glacial silt here is not usually underwater. The tide is farther out there. So unless it's an extreme high tide. All right, coming up on our left, this is avalanche chute number 1. And if you look really closely, right at my 11 o'clock, there is a bald eagle in a tree behind the bald eagle's nest, but you can see it, the white head right up in that tree up here. And then right at my 9 o'clock in that one tree, there's another bald eagle in that, the female's in the nest. So that's avalanche chute number 2, and then avalanche chute number 3.
What color bears are out here?
What's that?
What color are the bears out here?
Oh, we got brown bears and black bears.
That's good. That's good.
No polar bears. They're way up north, but brown bears and black bears.
Polar bears are dangerous.
All bears are dangerous. It doesn't matter what bear. They're all dangerous. But yes, if you want to talk about the most dangerous bear, yes, that is a polar bear. But they're at the very, very top of Alaska. The northeast corner, little village of Kaktovik, and then at the very top, formerly known as Barrow Ukriavik. That's where the polar bears hang out. Well, they never come this far south.
Good thing. Whew.
So, Turnagain Arm has another phenomenon that happens the day before the full moon, the day of the full moon, and the day after the full moon. It's called a bore tide, spelled B-O-R-E. It's one wave, 6 to 8 foot tall, traveling about 6 to 10 miles an hour. What makes it important on those 3 days, the day before the full moon, day after the full moon, day of the full moon, it is a surfable wave. People come from all over the world to surf it. And an average wave is about 10 to 15 seconds. But they can surf that bore tide from Anchorage all the way to the end. It takes between 4 and 4.5 hours. There's a spot coming up here that you're going to see. That's the commonplace. And if you're curious about that, you can look it up on YouTube and look up bore tide surfing, and you'll see 50 to 75 people surfing one wave. Okay, coming up on our right-hand side, you're going to see some beluga whale statues, and there's some heads popped up, but that's not what you're going to see. Just look at the backs of the beluga statues, and these statues are made to scale. They're going to be right on the right-hand side. You're only going to get a quick glimpse of them, but you'll have an idea what they look like. So they look kind of like a wave, but these white humps, those were the backs of the belugas. That's all you're going to see, and that's exactly what you're going to see. So now you have an idea what to look for. And they like to hang out in this area. So if I took all this salt water out of here, underneath it is a couple freshwater streams. And those freshwater streams come from my 2 o'clock. That's where Portage Valley is going. That's where we're heading next. And so the salmon use their sense of smell because they can't see in this chocolate milk water either. But the belugas follow the salmon. Oh, okay, look out in the middle. You're gonna see some white things popping up right out in the middle. Those are beluga whales. That's a pod of beluga whales. So right out here, it's gonna be at my 3 o'clock. Just kind of look out towards the middle. You're gonna see some white things popping up out of the water. These are belugas. Right here. They look like waves, but they're beluga whales. Because they stay up a little bit longer than a wave. So we're coming up to them right at my 3 o'clock. Look right out in the middle. You see some white things coming up this way. When one pops up, there's others with it. You'll see a little white. Just kind of keep an eye out there. I saw a couple pop up, but they could be feeding. Here's the thing about this water out here. The deepest this water is 40 feet deep. This is Alaska, and there's salmon out here. You might be thinking, where's all the boats? There ain't no boats out here. You'll never see a boat out here. It's because the current is too strong and the water's too shallow. And what's underneath it is quicksand. Now, anything white out there, remember there's nothing else out there. There's no seals, no sea lions, no nothing. So if you see anything white out there, it's beluga whale. So just keep scanning out there. I saw a couple pop up. And what they do is they come in with the tide and they go out with the tide because they don't want to waste all their energy fighting that current. And they're only out here. When they're out here, they keep their heads down because they're only hunting. They're fishing when they're out here. So what do you guys think of my office? This is my office all year round. This is it. This is
great views.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you can see why it's considered the most scenic road in North America. And when we go on the boat today, a little overcast weather is actually better for the glacier. The glacier is a lot more brighter blue on overcast days.
Look like I see snow up there.
Oh yeah, there's going to be snow. Lots of snow.
Whew.
All right, everybody look on this post right here, on the very top of the post, on the left-hand side. There's a bald eagle right on the top. See, he just turned his head. Yep, he just turned his head at us. Right at the top. Might ask, well, how did you spot that? This is what I do. We have a lot of bald eagles. And the eagles are out because the salmon are here. So they're going to be out fishing. And he's looking for a fish. Really? Oh, I'll show you a lot more. Hopefully. So directly in front of us, the road's going to turn to the right. You're going to see some trees, not the ones right next to the road, the ones right behind it. They look like they were burnt in a forest fire. But that is not what happened. When we had that earthquake in 1964, that fault slipped 15 feet all at once. So that land dropped 15 feet. A tsunami wave came in and got salt water in these trees' root system, killing all these trees on the exact same date, 59 years ago. These trees are called the Ghost Forest. And there is a special inhabitant of the Ghost Forest. There is a Bigfoot that lives in there that you'll all be able to get to see. He's wearing a rain jacket and holding an American flag. So he's being patriotic. The rain jacket because it's been so rainy this year.
Do these leaves stay green all year round?
What's that?
The leaves stay green, all the grass?
Do the trees stay green?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they stay green. I mean, they either stay green or covered in snow. Those are the two options.
Interesting, yeah.
So not these trees here, the ones back here. These are all part of the Ghost Forest. So all those trees died on the exact same day. So now look at the base of the trees. You're going to see him. He has his rain jacket on, and he still has his American flag in his hand. But yeah, there's a Bigfoot there. They just put that in for 4th of July. Yeah, the people in Girdwood put them there. Those trees there and the trees over here on the right-hand side are all part of the Ghost Forest. So right here at this service station, that is the entrance to Girdwood, the home of Alyeska, our big ski resort. But this area here also is the edge of the Anchorage city limits. In Alaska, we do not have counties. The Anchorage city limits comes all the way to the Girdwood gas station, goes north to a little town called Eagle River. It's approximately 75 miles from one end of town to the other, making Anchorage the 4th largest city, land square size, in the United States. Here are the top 3 in order. Number 1, Sitka, Alaska. Number 2, Juneau, Alaska. Number 3, Wrangell, Alaska. And Anchorage is number 4. We are twice the size of the state of Rhode Island. That's not saying much. Rhode Island's pretty small, but I have people on my tour from Rhode Island all the time. And they always say the exact same thing. Oh, well, we have more people than you, which is true. They have about 1 million people. We only have 720,000 throughout our whole state. But my response to them is this. Well, in Alaska, we have more caribou than you have people. So there. And they always laugh. You didn't see the bald eagle that we saw earlier that was flying right in front of the van? You didn't see that one? Oh, but you got that one. On the side. Yeah, we got a lot of bald eagles in Alaska. More than the whole lower 48 put together. It's because there's so much more food up here. So, from the Girdwood gas station to Portage Valley is about 10 miles. So let's talk about glaciers for a minute. Because Portage Valley is the home of 13 glaciers. People always ask, why are glaciers blue? Glaciers are blue because they absorb all the colors of the sun. And the only color that's refracted back out that our eyes actually can see is that distinct blue color. But not just glaciers are blue, the glacier water is blue as well. And in the wintertime, even the snow has a bluish hue to it. And the reason why the water is blue is because of the glacial silt. If you have too much glacial silt, like what's happening out in Turnagain Arm, it's mud puddly, brackish. But if you just have a little bit, it's more of an aquamarine turquoise color, and you'll be able to see that today. If you look at my 1 o'clock, straight across on that mountain, on the side of that mountain, that is Explorer Glacier. That is the next stop that we're going to. See on that side of that mountain? It's on the side of the mountain. It's called a hanging glacier, but you can see some of that blue coming out underneath the snow. It's kind of right at my 2 o'clock now, right over in that valley. So you might notice here on the left, you see a lot of these little lakes and ponds. That is fresh water, where this is salt water over here. And so that fresh water is used for the migratory birds. When they come through here, and this fresh water is coming from snowmelt on the side of that mountain. So if they want something to drink, you know, they're not going to drink salt water. They want some fresh water, or they want something to eat. This is where they hang out.
The tap water did taste good. I tasted the water last night in the hotel. The water tastes good out here.
I tell you, it's voted the world's best water. Water's not water. In most places, when you go to a new city, nobody ever drinks the water out of the tap. They're like, oh, I'm not going to drink that water. But drink the water here in Anchorage. Drink it. It's delicious. They don't do anything to it. They add a little fluoride. That's it.
Not even ice?
Oh, you can add ice. But yeah, it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming from a glacier. They filter the glacial silt out of it. Pure water. Okay, at my 1 o'clock, there's a sign that says we're now entering in the Chugach National Forest. The Chugach National Forest is the second largest national forest in the United States at 5.5 million acres. You might ask, how big is 5.5 million acres? That is equivalent to the size of the state of New Jersey, 5.5 million acres. And 1/3 of the Chugach National Forest is covered in ice. There are approximately 10,000 glaciers in the Chugach National Forest. Statewide, we have a little over 100,000. Worldwide, the worldwide population of glaciers is only 198,000. Alaska is responsible for 51% of the world's glaciers. 51% are in Alaska. And right in front of us, at my 12 o'clock, that is glacier number 1. That is Explorer Glacier. That's going to be our next stop. We're going to go there before we get on the boat. That's the appetizer for when we get on the boat to go see Portage Glacier. And I'm on the boat every single day. That's what I do every single day. In the summertime, no days off. In the winter, I only work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because the Conservation Center is closed Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I get 3 days off in the wintertime, but in the summer, I work the whole summer straight through.
Which is now every day.
Every day. Yep. Gotta make the money when the money's there. Okay,
True.
directly in front of us at my 12 o'clock. This is another bald eagle's nest that everybody will see. And there's a bald eagle in there. I can see it right now. So at the top of this tree, right next to the road at my 12 o'clock, it's a big bald eagle's nest. So let's talk about eagles for a second. In the springtime, you're going to have 2 bald eagles together, one larger than the other. So look up the tree right here. Look up the top. You're going to see the bald eagle's nest right at the top of the tree, right next to the road. You're going to see 2 bald eagles together. One's going to be larger than the other. You assume that the bigger one is the male. That is incorrect. On average, the female is 50% larger than the male. When she's looking for a mate, the male weighs 10 pounds and the female weighs 15 pounds. When she's looking for a mate, what she'll do is she'll do an acrobatic choreographed dance that she wants the male to mimic her. She wants to see if he has good genetics to pass on to her young to be able to hunt and fish. If he has 2 left wings, she'll move on to the next eagle, kind of like the real world. When you think about it, bald eagles look alike, so that's what she has to do. She has to do her little dance, and he has to follow her, and she see what his dance skills are. Yep. So when a female, she'll lay 2 eggs 3 days apart. It takes 35 days for those eggs to incubate, and those eggs hatch at the exact time when the salmon come back. All right, look over here. There's a big, huge waterfall. We just kind of passed over it. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful waterfalls. But right here at my 11 o'clock, so that is Explorer Glacier. There's snow on top of it, but you can see some of that blue ice coming peeking through. And right down here on the right-hand side, this is the end of Turnagain Arm. You might notice the water's so much calmer down here. Because remember I told you, this is like the end of the bathtub. This area is the calving grounds for the moms and the baby belugas. And it's always shore, baby, mom. You have to think about it. Her mom can't see her young. So she has to, how she keeps an eye on her with her echolocation. She always wants to keep her baby against the shore. Never on the other side of her, like a baby, because a baby only weighs 130 pounds. Could get caught in the current and take it out of here.
Whoa. Even those in the airplane, I see blue ice when you fly over it.
Yep. Well, 30% of the Anchorage National Forest is covered in ice. So yeah, there's a lot of ice. No matter what, that ice is there all year round. And coming up at my 1 o'clock, that parking lot, when people surf that board tide, they'll surf it all the way down. Down here, it's not so quicksandy because the water table's not so high. And they'll get off in that parking lot. In this valley right in front of us, that is Burns Glacier. Burns Glacier it's covered in clouds right now, but there's a glacier there. That's to the left of Portage Glacier. So in Alaska, we are very literal. We have a mountain with a flat top on it. We call it Flat Top Mountain. In Portage Valley, there's two glaciers with a glacier in the middle. Yep, that middle one's called Middle Glacier. At the end of Turnagain Arm is a river called 20 Mile River. Yep, you guessed it, 20 miles long. The very first fish that come back in early May are not salmon. They're called hooligan. Hooligan is a sardine, smelt-like fish. But the local natives called it a candlefish due to its high fat content. They could dry them out and light them, and they would burn like a candle. And they spawn right underneath this bridge that we're going over next. And they come back by the billions. Lots and lots of them. But only for about 2 weeks. And that is the very first fresh fish that all the eagles in the area and all the belugas get to feed on before the salmon come back. So they have to wait 7 months before any fish come back. So now that we're getting closer to Explorer Glacier, see the blue ice coming out underneath the snow?
See it.
So directly in front of us, you're going to notice a little rail depot. That is not the rail depot to Seward, even though we're on the Seward Highway. That is the rail depot to Whittier. At the very end of Portage Valley Road is a mountain called Maynard Mountain. At the base of that mountain is a tunnel called the Antoine Anderson Tunnel. That tunnel was built in 1943. That is the longest dual-purpose one-way tunnel in the world. It's used for train and car. The town of Whittier is in Prince William Sound. Whittier is named after John Greenleaf Whittier. He's a literary person, just like Whittier, California. It's named after the same gentleman. In Whittier, California, they have a motto. The motto is, "The girls are prettier," from Whittier. That is not the motto of Whittier, Alaska, where the girls have beards. They're not prettier. But they do have a motto. It's not my motto, it's theirs. They got bumper stickers and t-shirts that say this. If you ask somebody from Whittier, Alaska, how's the weather in Whittier, their motto is, "It's always shittier in Whittier." If I asked you what is a rainy city in the lower 48, you guys would say the city I'm from, Seattle. Seattle, everybody knows Seattle gets a lot of rain. Seattle averages 37 inches of precipitation a year. Whittier, Alaska averages 237 inches of precipitation. 6 times more moisture than Seattle. Now you see why they got their motto. Coming up on our right, this is going to be the Conservation Center. This is where we're going to be going to after we go on the boat and we go to Portage Lodge. But you're going to start seeing some animals. I'll talk about all the animals when we're coming after we leave the lodge. I'll tell you all the backstories. And this is not a zoo. This is a conservation center. This is for orphaned or endangered animals. And we're making great time. It's 2:28. The boat leaves at 3 o'clock sharp. So we have enough time to make one more stop, and then once we get to the boat, you guys will be able to use the restroom. And there's restrooms on the boat, but usually about that time people need to use the restroom.
Eso entendí perfectamente.
The nice thing is about Portage Valley, it's right across the street from the Conservation Center, so it's right here. And it's 6 miles to the boat. But yeah, if you wait till 3 o'clock in 1 second, that boat's going to be taken off, and we literally miss the boat. And they'd wave at us and say, see you at 4:30, because the next boat's not until 4:30. But you guys showing up early today, that's the whole reason why we're make good time. Okay, in Portage Valley, this is not just an important place in Alaska, this is actually a very important place in the world. Because at the top of these mountains, they get more snow than any place on the planet. They average 100 feet of snow. So on our left, we have the Chugach Mountains, which I've been talking about the whole time. Now on our right, the Kenai Mountains have wrapped around the end of Turnagain Arm. Now they're less than 1 mile apart. So how they get so much snow? You get all the clouds from the Chugach Mountains, all the clouds from the Kenai Mountains, and at the very end of this road is Maynard Mountain. It's basically a catcher's mitt, and it holds the clouds from 2 mountain ranges. So what do you need to make a glacier? You only need 4 things and 4 things only. You need a lot of snow. You need a short summer where all that snow can't melt. You need cold temperatures and time. When you first get snow, snow is 90% air. Think about a snowflake. Think about all the jagged edges and how it flops around. But snow is very heavy. So you get 100 feet of snow. Not all of it melts. Then next year, another 100 feet of snow on top of that. And then on top of that. And then on top of that. And it compresses down. From initial snowfall to become part of the glacier, it takes approximately 10 years. In 2012, we had one of those Chinook winds in Anchorage blowing 100 miles an hour. But the mountains are 5 miles apart. In this valley, they had winds clocked at 225 miles an hour. And this right here, this tree at by 1 o'clock, is remnants of that wind. Mother Nature, that's only a third of the tree. Look at the other 2/3 are leaning up against the tree. 225 mile an hour wind is equivalent to a tornado, but tornadoes have circular winds. This wind was a straight line wind. That phenomenon is called a derecho. And it happened in the wintertime. I was here before the storm, I was here after the storm. It was total devastation in here. So all the branches were taken off the trees, but these trees were frozen solid. So the very tops of the trees got cut off. You might notice that the tops of the trees are cut off at a certain level. And it was because that was the weakest part of the tree. People in Florida know anything over 157 is a Class 5 hurricane. I guarantee they know that. Everybody knows that. So coming up on our left, this is Portage River. This is your first glimpse at glacial water. And you might notice real quick that it doesn't look like the water back home. It's totally unique. It's more of an aquamarine, turquoise, teal color. We've had a little bit of rain the last few days, so it's kind of diluted it a little bit. We are not going to Portage River. We're going to go to Explorer Lake. We're going to get a quick picture, and then we'll be down to the boat. All right, before we get out, let me just talk about something real quick. Let these other tour company get through here. So here's the deal. When water comes down a mountain, no matter where you're at in the world, water carves the letter V. So think about the water, and this is how water carves. When a glacier comes down the mountain, it carves the letter U. It's steep on the sides, flat on the bottom, it's slow moving. So this glacier is right up in this valley. At one point, it advanced and advanced and advanced. When we get out there, I want you to look to the right side of the lake. You're going to notice a little mound. That mound is called a terminal moraine. It made an artificial dam. When that glacier receded back, and we're only seeing the fingertip of the mountain. So, do you guys know who Bob Ross is? Bob Ross is the famous painter, the white guy with the big afro that had the happy trees. He was on PBS. Bob Ross came to